Just wait, John Hall. I'm about to catch the next flight to Utah. It'll still be today by the time I get there.
Right.
So who you got winning the NBA Finals, Sean? I know you do a lot of betting.
Man, yeah. I've just been kind of going game to game. You know, like I don't have a futures bet on anybody to win the whole thing. Thank God, because I probably would have had the Lakers or some other team that got
Matt,
knocked out.
you can go ahead and share.
I'm rooting for
Harish, I'm gonna make you so you can.
kind of rooting for CP3. That's okay. Kind of rooting for Chris Paul.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a Jazz fan here, so.
Oh man.
Yeah, aren't they the worst?
Will you record, Harish?
Jazz fans are the worst.
They are. I love the Jazz fan.
You're on mute, also, by the way. And where's Matt? Is he gone?
Yeah, he fell off for some reason.
Okay, no worries. We'll start without him.
Do you follow Vernon Maxwell at all on Twitter?
Oh yeah. We follow each other actually.
The way he roasts the Jazz fans on Twitter,
it's awesome.
It's so gold.
It's hilarious. The best one was when he put up a video.
What happened?
Vernon Maxwell, he hates the Jazz.
Hates them.
Jazz.
Yeah.
He put up a video one time of like this basketball camp where these kids were awful at basketball. And he's like, here's the AAU top 10 camp for the players in Utah. Like, and these kids were awful. And it was really funny.
You're going to make John Hall cry before we even get started.
I mean, the thing, I love my teams. I hate the fans of the teams I root for.
Yeah. The Titans fans hate you.
That's fine. I hate them, so.
Because you're the most honest Titans commentator we have. The rest of them are like, we're amazing. You're like,
we are. I like the players on the field. I don't care who's in the stands.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. This Julio trade's like manna from heaven for this podcast, huh?
Yep.
Like content wise, that's
why it's the last.
Oh, it's great content.
Yeah. Harish, Sam, and Matt are gonna sit here and pretend that Julio Jones is a terrible player, even though they never would have said it 48 hours ago. Wait for it. It's coming.
No. See, this is what Titans fans do, right? They make a big move. This is what they did with Clowney last year. Man, everybody is gonna downplay this. Like this wasn't like a big game playing move. Clowney played fucking 3 snaps and had negative half tackle. And then we didn't hear from him.
Showing in the
Bonnie was terrible.
You shouldn't be excited about any big name moves because it hasn't worked out for you. On paper, it looks great.
You already have a fan posting. Somebody has said, Sean, 3 exclamation points.
On paper, that move looks great, but if your defense didn't get any better, who gives a shit? Honestly.
Yeah, I've seen you get an argument with somebody on Twitter about it there, Sean.
About the Julio trade? Well, it was somebody who was comparing it. I don't know who this person was, but they were like the last Bill O'Brien apologist that exists on the face of the earth. And they're like, well, you're all hepped up that this Julio trade was such a good trade. Where was the energy? They were like, why were you so critical of Bill O'Brien? He got a high 2 for Hopkins. They only got what's going to be a low 2 for Julio Jones. And I'm like, because Hopkins was 27 when you traded him, and Julio Jones is 32, and he's coming off injuries, and he's got a bad contract, and like there's a lot of reasons, and that's. And I was most surprised that there were still more than like 3 people on the face of the earth who were defending Bill O'Brien for anything.
We actually have a guy in the group chat that still defends him. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah, World defends him.
I'm having to add us.
He defends the Hopkins trade. So.
Onto the group.
I don't know how. Here's the thing, but they were all looking at the draft compensation, and I'm like, are you guys going to ignore the fact that they took on David Johnson's entire contract? Like, are we just going to ignore it? We're just going to. That didn't happen. Like David Johnson didn't come here, get hurt, and got paid too much money. That didn't happen.
Why do people love draft picks so much? Like, I get it. I get that you want the draft picks, but like you have DeAndre Hopkins, a bird in the hand.
Yeah. You know what they love? They love the hope of a draft pick. They love the unknown of it. Draft picks are awesome until you actually have to attach a name to it, like 70% of the time.
Right. You have a for sure thing in DeAndre Hopkins, the top
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
receiver,
Like I said,
top,
bird in the hand.
top
We're two in the
5
bush.
player
Get
in
it.
the NFL, and
Yeah.
you're gonna trade it away for it.
It was so
All right,
dumb.
we are
It was so
finally
dumb.
live in the group. I was waiting for
It
that
is
to
so
come through.
hard to hit like perfectly on a pick like that. So when you have DeAndre Hopkins, it's like.
Well, and the worst was the Texans put out a memo. You guys probably saw some of this, and the Athletic had a big article about several months ago, before all the lawsuits started flying on Deshaun. They had an article that talked about where things fell apart with Deshaun Watson and the Texans, and it talked about the Hopkins trade being sort of one of the first.
Yeah.
One
I
of
had
the
a really
first,
big
like,
article about a month ago about Samantha Burnett.
Yeah, well,
You're
in
still
this
talking
article,
about that, Sam?
It's the highlight of my life.
in the Hopkins article, they talked about this memo that the Texans put out right after the Hopkins trade, because they were clearly hearing all the criticism, and some of the rationalizations for that trade were just hysterical. Like, they talked about how it was good that they got a second-round pick instead of a first-round pick, because you can get just as good a player at not as big a contract. And it's like, well, so by that logic, you should back out of the first round every year and just volunteer to pick in the second round. You know what I mean? Like it was so they had like four paragraphs on why the 4th round pick that they were getting in 2021. Nobody's talking about this 4th round pick we're getting in 2021. It's like, yeah, well, that's because it's a 4th round pick in 2021. That's why nobody's talking about it.
Who do they end up using that pick on? I'm actually very interested.
They didn't use it. It got shuffled around in one of these Casario deals. I think it either got,
didn't it?
No. It either got thrown into the Nico Collins deal, or I think it might have been one of the picks where with Marcus Cannon. Remember the Marcus Cannon trade? They just they flip-flop like 3 different picks with the Patriots. I think that was one of them.
That's not a bad trade, though. I like
them not using. Yeah, I like a lot of what Casario's done, considering what the constraints he's working with are right now. But yeah.
Well, before we get started on the actual episode, I want to give a couple comments real quick. Chris Royal says, tell Sean I was the guy on Twitter who asked everyone to go to Deshaun Watson's restaurant, Lefties. He retweeted it too, but the food was nasty.
Ooh. Yeah, Lefties is it's a very average cheesesteak. It's the bread. It's not great bread.
Oh, Lefties.
Is that what the lawyer's saying about it? Average cheesesteak. And then Buck Flair says he's a Buccaneers fan, so we're going to take this with a grain of salt. But anyway, with the first pick in the 2022 draft, the Texans trade number 1 pick for a 2nd round, 4th round, and a 7th round pick in 2023.
Everybody thinks Bill O'Brien's still the general manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss those days.
So do I. Such great content. Man, good
It
content.
was great
It was
content.
great for us.
Bill O'Brien made us forget about COVID. He traded DeAndre Hopkins.
He
traded DeAndre Hopkins the first day that COVID was starting to roll up on our shores.
I remember my favorite meme, like during the when the riots and all that were happening, they showed these people with like signs and all this stuff. And one of them was like, please trade Bill O'Brien. Like, that was the best meme. So I still don't understand why you guys have, we'll get into that. Let me stop.
Yeah.
Let me stop. Okay.
We started? We pretty much started, haven't we?
I know. We'll get into this. All right. Y'all ready?
Yes,
I got a speech to start. My hair is too fluffy for my headphones, by the way. I never wear my hair curly. It's too fluffy. All right. Y'all ready? Here we go. Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the AFC South Fan Battle Podcast. Time out. Matt, are you in Relevant?
Oh, I am now.
Tell me when you get on there. Tom McManus is. I think Seth Payne might be in there too. It's like a little podcasting streaming thing called Relevant, Sean. So you should check it out.
Oh, cool.
I asked them to collaborate together because they used to play and they could be on each other's stuff. It was perfect. Tell me when we're live, Matt.
Go ahead.
All right, cool. Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the AFC South Fan Battle Podcast. My name is Samantha Wordnett. Before I introduce our guest this evening, I have something to say, and I know that you guys have a love-hate relationship when I do this. But all I can say is good thing we have a funny guest tonight, and I'm going to try not to cry. I don't ever cry. I've never cried. I'm a female, but this has been a tough week, so.
Don't lie, you cried when Miles Jack was down. Don't lie.
Yeah, that was different.
Facts.
Yeah, that was different. That was different. I didn't cry when Trevor Lawrence was drafted number 1. A happy moment. But anyways.
Yeah.
I had the week off. We had the week off last week in observance of Memorial Day, and because of that, I want to give a shout out to all the men and women who fight for our freedoms every single day. Memorial Day is much more about honoring those who have served than it is eating hot dogs. But last week, as I was hanging out with my friends, some whom are veterans, sitting around eating hot dogs, I got a knock on my door from my neighbor. She proceeded to tell me that our neighbor, her husband, Master Chief Petty Officer Ben McLemore, had just passed away. My veteran friends quickly ran out there when the van pulled up, and shout out to Anthony Gonzalez and Varun Patel, and they gave Mr. McLemore a send-off. They gave him a salute as he pulled away. Ironically, the Sunday before that, I spent the night thinking about a friend of mine who had passed away on Memorial Day as well in 2007. He was Specialist Alexander Rosa. He was killed in the line of duty in Mukdayala, Iraq in 2007. 6 weeks prior to that, I had visited him and his wife, who was pregnant and was due in days at the time in Atlanta. I went to visit for an evening when he was home on R&R, and I helped him set up their kitchen table and looked at their beautiful new home. It was at that kitchen table that he told me that if anything ever happened to him, to make sure he was buried in his Wonder Breads. They were these ridiculous-looking bathing ape shoes. Alex and Melissa had their daughter a few days later, and Alex returned to Iraq from his R&R after seeing the birth of his daughter and ended up dying when she was only 5 weeks old. And he was buried in his Wonder Breads. I have the logo tattooed on my ankle, and I get asked about it often. His wife is one of the most strongest women I've ever met in my life, but you would never know by looking at her that she has experienced such grief. I had actually written her that Sunday night, telling her how amazing of a mother she is, how I've never for a second thought that she wasn't strong for doing what she's doing, but now being a mother myself, I appreciate so much more how she's been through, what she's been through, and how much of an amazing life she's given their daughter Ellie. Fast forward to that next day, this Memorial Day, and ironically, my neighbor, Mr. McLemore, passed away. Once again, a mourning wife, completely grief-stricken, sobbing across the roadway as my friends gave him a salute when he passed. And all I could think in that moment was how often we don't get to know our neighbors anymore. I'm so fortunate to have these amazing people live across the street from me. Their son lives directly next door, and he's like the neighborhood hawk. He's always got his eye. I love it. Like the neighborhood watchdog. And as I sat making my dinner this evening, I looked out the window and I thought about all the times that I saw Mr. McLemore out there starting up his weed whacker on a 90-degree Florida hot summer day, just to give it a couple passes and put it away because it was too hot, and go back inside, give a wave, go back, cool off. And now I'll never get to see that again. There's a woman a couple doors down from them who I've never actually shook hands with, but she brings my kids cards for Christmas, and we bring her cards, and we exchange phone numbers. I checked on her during COVID. But I find in this neighborhood that I didn't have that anywhere else, and most of my friends don't either. When we get on social media, we look into our phones. It's almost like looking at all of our Facebook friends as if they are our neighbors looking through a window. However, we only see the positive highlights of their life, or we fight with strangers over petty things. When you look out your window, hypothetical or real, you see your neighbors. You don't know, but you don't know if that woman is a widow of a fallen soldier. You don't know if they're going through cancer, if they live alone, if they're scared. And I'm taking this moment to remind all of us, as we always say, our diversities unify us. Football is such a beautiful thing. It brings people together on a common ground. We get together on Sundays, we watch sports, have our friends over, same with baseball, basketball, and others. And although it feels a lot of times like we just don't have anything in common anymore, especially with Facebook, if we take a step back and have some empathy and stop caring about social status, political affiliations, we can make somebody's day, because I know for a fact that Mr. Mack made an impact on me just by waving at me when he would put his weed whacker back in his garage. And it's the simple things in life, the little things that we so often take advantage of. All of you that subscribe to this podcast and watch our lives on Facebook and Twitter usually are all football fans. And of course, it's fan battle. So we all argue over sports and different teams. We can all agree that the Titans are trash and they're a bunch of mayo eaters. But at the end of the day, when something goes wrong in our group, the group bands together for the greater good, and that's the America I know. We may argue over politics and argue over kneeling, and we can argue over whose team is worse, but at the end of the day, we all do it because we love America. And for our listeners in other countries, I guess this would apply to you also. But I hope that you all take a second out of your day to wave to your neighbors, to thank a military member for their service. Check on your friends who are widows and widowers, those who are grieving, and the little things like a smile and a wave instead of having our nose and our phone focus on negativity. Because you can reflect that energy for the greater good, and you never know what somebody's going through. And I feel like we forget empathy. Let's be empathetic. Treat your phone as your kitchen window. Thank you to all the service members, former and current, for all you do to make all of this possible. And I want to take a couple seconds of silence to honor the military men and women who have lost their lives, and then I'll introduce our guests. Thank you. I did it without crying. I got misty-eyed.
That was nice.
All right. Our guest this evening. Good thing we have a funny guy on here. Good thing we have a funny guy. This
Thank
guy.
you.
Oh, not you, John Ha. Come on.
Oh, sorry.
Not you, John Ha.
I was hoping it would be you. That's a lot of pressure for me.
All right. I can't even talk now after all that. Introducing our commentators for this evening. Representing the Texans, we have Matt Briggs.
What up?
Representing the Colts, we have Harish Nukala.
We get 1 month to breathe, and then we go.
Oh, God. Representing the Jags, we have Matt Grieve.
Miles Jack was, in fact, not down.
Agreed. And representing the Titans, who are having the best week ever, Mr. John Hall.
Little Haas X.
So I'm still laughing at the Miles Jack. That was funny.
Oh.
Julio!
And introducing our special guest. He's a sports radio host on Houston 610 Sports Radio. Houston Texans post-game show commentator. That was a rough gig last year, I'm assuming. Writer and all-around funny guy, Mr. Sean Pendergast. What's up, Sean?
Hey, what's going on? It's great to be on with you guys again. Always enjoy it.
So, like I said in pre-production, Sean, I was not available last episode, but you know, doing this every week, I never like sit back and watch if I have the week off, and I watched that entire one. I was cracking up the whole time. I love it, but I do have to know.
Harish was on with me. Like it was. You should have been there. It was hilarious. It was
Good time. That was definitely a good time.
It was fun.
I do want to know though, because I kept asking, do you want Gardner Minshew still? Or not still? Do you want him? Because I asked.
Yeah. You know what? Let's make it saucy. Hell yeah. We'll take some Gardner Minshew. It's really hard to say that Gardner Minshew is not an upgrade over anybody on the Texans right now. You know what I mean? Like,
Good point.
And I think, I mean, anybody other than Deshaun Watson, obviously. The team is operating right now and saying things where it sounds like Deshaun Watson is gone. So we'll operate that way too. I do think, it's funny. I do think that Tyrod Taylor he's probably one of those quarterbacks that's going to make them unsuccessful and trying to go 2-15 this year or something like that. Like he might just be, this sounds crazy. He might just be good enough to win 4 or 5 games this year. You never know. But I think most Texan fans are hoping that at some point this year they see what they have in Davis Mills. And as I sit here and say all these sentences, it's the most depressing thing ever, because this time a year ago, Deshaun Watson was our quarterback. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, you know what? This Tyrod Taylor, he may go win 4 games for you. But if not, we're going to see what Davis Mills, who I didn't know who the hell he was until like 2 months ago, we're going to see what we got in Davis. Like Davis Mills all of a sudden is the most important guy in the building over there. So So yes, you know what, Samantha, give me some Gardner Minshew. Give me the jorts, give me the mullets, give me the goatees, give me the crazy fantasy football commercials. I'll take it. It's good. Like you said, doing the post game this past year was I was proud of myself that I didn't get drunk for any of them. I was really
Maybe you should have.
I did. Oh, there's no question I should have. No
But hey,
question.
hey, Sam, with with having Sean here, I'm gonna put something to the rest today.
Oh God,
You
what?
and Maurice talked about it. It's time to put away the old trusty Cardinals. So with
Thank
Sean
God.
being here, there you go, Sean. This is just for you, buddy.
Oh
There you go.
no!
There you go.
Crying
Send that to
Michael
me.
Jordan.
I need that. Send that to me.
Hey
Got
Sean,
you.
before we get rolling tonight, I do have a question for you. Are you already on QB Watch 2022 NFL Draft? Are you
Yeah.
already?
Yeah, he said,
100%.
no
Who do you
being about it. He
like?
said, yep.
Dude,
Who do you like?
Who are your interests right now? Like, who are your top three?
yeah, I would say who are my top three? I would say Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma. Not
Yeah.
because I think he's the next Baker Mayfield or the next Kyler Murray, but I do think that he actually checks more boxes from a physical talent standpoint than maybe both of those guys did coming into the, or at least physical stature standpoint. Maybe talent's not the right word. He's a little
Sure.
bigger than both those guys, and he's coming out of Lincoln Riley's offense. So I think Spencer Rattler for one. I think the Malik Willis, the kid from Liberty, is really intriguing to me. Playing in Hugh Freeze's offense, and he's getting a lot of buzz, and he's very athletic. So he's probably number two on my list. And then, it's not a great quarterback class right now. But I go back and I look at the previous two or three classes of quarterbacks, and you can look prior to Trevor Lawrence, the three guys that got picked number one, Mayfield, Murray, and Joe Burrow, they weren't even viewed as first day picks going into their senior, going into, I don't know if they were seniors, but going into their last years in college. So and Zach Wilson, same thing in this class. He was battling for his starting position going into the year. So there's going to be other names that pop up. You asked me for three names, though, so I'll throw Keaton Slovis from USC in there. He's playing in a Graham Harrell offense, and the league's starting to get a little more friendly to the air raid stuff. So those are
We
three.
have
But Rattler,
a comment, Howell from UNC.
Hal, I like Hal. I'm most intrigued with Hal because he lost all of his weapons. He lost the two running backs, Williams and Carter, and then Brown, the wide receiver. They were all really good players. I loved both those running backs. So Hal is intriguing to me just because he was very highly recruited. He's a 4 or 5 star recruit, and he's losing all of his weapons. And North Carolina is thought to be a really good team this year. I was looking at the season win totals for college football, and even losing all those guys, they're still viewed as like a 9.5 win team. It's the ACC, so whatever. To whoever said that in the chat, Hal intrigues me. It was between Hal and Slovis in my mind as to which one I would put for the third. But to me, Rattler and Willis are the two that are, kind of out in front of everybody else from an intrigue standpoint right now.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, I have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
We need some Pat Storm type rumors about Deshaun Watson, because there's been so much.
Give us the good shit, Sean.
There's been so much movement with all of this. You can't keep on top of it because I'll tell you the last I heard, and then you can tell me if there's been an update, because you can't keep up with it. It doesn't matter what you do. So the last I heard is it Harden is the girl's attorney?
No, that's Tony Busby. Tony Busby is the plaintiff's attorney, and Rusty Harden is Deshaun's attorney.
Which we got into that press conference, and I don't even know how we got into that press conference, by the way, but we did. But anyway, Busby said, "Oh, we're settling out of court," and then Harden was like, "No, we're not." Mm-hmm. Like he was crazy. So what's happening? Are they going through with it? Like, what are they doing?
They're not on the verge. We had on our show, probably within the last week or 10 days, our legal expert for this stuff is a woman by the name of Amy Dash, who's out in New York City, and she's been following this stuff real closely. And she's been in touch, I know, with Busby's camp. I don't know if she's been in touch with Harden, but I know she's talked to people within that side of things. And when she was last on with us, and there's been nothing that's happened publicly to lead us to believe that it's any different since then, is that they're not close to any sort of settlements or anything like that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Geez.
So
it's all so weird, the way that it's all playing out. And my biggest thing is everybody's talking about people taking advantage. And I'm like, well, this guy kind of is too, because he's kind of like, we're going to have a million press conferences and I need you all to show face, And I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
like it. It's very like creepy, but not just on Watson's side. It's also creepy on Busby's side.
Well, I mean, it's tough to judge because it's he said, she said. I mean, literally, these two sides have said the other one's lying. I mean, that's the word that Rusty Hardin used in a press release was, we think that all 22 of these women are lying. Like that story. So they have completely opposite opinions of what exactly happened in that room. So it's really tough, certainly for me on the radio every day, and just in terms of talking in environments like this to give an opinion as to which side or the other is creepy or right or wrong and things like that. If we focus on the things that we know to be true, which are some things that Deshaun has admitted to. Deshaun admitted to he doesn't dispute the fact that he's solicited all of these different massage therapists on Instagram, several dozen of them. That's at the very least very weird, and it's very sloppy in terms of just his MO.
Now, didn't he come out and admit that he did have sexual relationships?
That was the other thing I was going to say.
That was Bill Clinton. You got this. Come on.
Well, yeah, there was physical evidence in the Bill Clinton case, nevertheless.
Yeah.
But
we need the sheets.
But Deshaun, right, yeah. But Deshaun, through his representation, has admitted to doing some things consensually with at least one of these women. Which is, again, probably image-wise, not anything that's really good for him, considering he's in a relationship and considering it's, depending on how you look at the transaction of cash and that whole thing. Was it a massage and he paid for a massage and the two of them just happened to get along with each other and then something happened? Or is he paying and that was understood to be part of the payment? Then it goes into a whole nother realm of legalities. So at the very least, we know to be true that Deshaun is guilty of doing some things that are at a minimum, it's probably not something you would want your quarterback doing, or certainly if you're his girlfriend, you wouldn't want your boyfriend doing.
She clearly doesn't care. She's.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would not be. I'd be like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know. Since this whole thing happened, there's been videos of them on vacation and whatnot. So maybe they're keeping a unified front on this whole thing. The bottom line is, I don't think we're anywhere close to Deshaun Watson getting traded anytime soon. It's going to be really strange when things start to happen on the calendar that he is contractually obligated to be at. Like for example, mandatory minicamp next week it starts on June 15th. And it's a week from tomorrow. Contractually, Deshaun Watson is supposed to be there. It's mandatory. Now, the Texans can give him an excused absence from that, but I'm fascinated to see what's going to happen. Do they give him an excused absence? Do they force his hand and make him stay away and then ding him for $100,000 in fines?
I don't think it looks good on their end to say, no, you have to show up, considering, don't you think? I think that looks bad to them.
Well, innocent until proven guilty. I mean, I guess.
Well,
I get that, but there's an isn't the league investigating still too?
Yes, the league, the police, the police are investigating.
But the league are doing their own investigation too. I think from the team standpoint, doesn't it just look better for them to just be like, look, let's just stay out until we know what's going on? My guess is the team probably doesn't want Deshaun anywhere near the building. I don't think they want that drama. I don't think they want the questions. That's purely a guess. I have no information to that effect.
Oh, go ahead, Matt.
No, go ahead. You're good.
I asked this question to Pat Storm. This was super early on, so I want your opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
Being a fan of a team who had a player all over the news who happened to have the same agent as Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
His name rhymes with Waylon Lamsey. We kind of know the format and the formula of what he's trying to do. Obviously that backfired on him. Do you feel like that kind of what he was doing prior to all of this, prior to the women coming out? Do you feel like that's all Muggaletta?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of Mulligetta. I think the team thought it was a lot of Mulligetta too. And I think that certainly it looked like Deshaun was executing a similar playbook. I don't think personality, he's totally similar to Jalen Ramsey. I think Jalen Ramsey is is willing to stir the pot publicly more than like Deshaun would never show up at training camp in a Brinks truck. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say like Deshaun Watson maybe would have under being told, but like if you have if you have a bunch of women suing you, maybe you don't need to do that.
Well, I don't think he's showing up anywhere anytime soon. So I mean, it doesn't matter what he's driving because he ain't showing up at Texans camp.
With that being said, so you don't see him being traded anytime soon?
No, not until all the legalities are not until there's clarity. And I tell you what, it's not even touch it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not even the civil lawsuits as much. And it is, but to me, I don't think any team's going to want to do anything until one, they know that the police have closed out their investigation on what the police can do to Deshaun is a hell of a lot more serious than scratching out checks to 22 different women. You know what I mean? Yeah. If they see enough there to prosecute him, and if they see enough there to prosecute him, then that means there's some stuff there, because that's a different threshold of evidence that you need. You need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. They're not going to go after Deshaun Watson if they don't feel like they can win the case. So that's number one. Like, the police need to close out their stuff before any team is going to trade for him. And so does the NFL. The NFL needs to close out their investigation. I don't think a team's going to trade for Deshaun Watson if they don't know if he's available for 14 games or 0 games. I mean, do any of us have any clue as to how long a suspension could be for Deshaun Watson right now? I don't. You might
be looking at like a Ben Roethlisberger type suspension. He missed 4-6 games.
It'll be harsher.
Because there's no proof. He actually
different age. It's a different time.
Actually raped some.
It's a different time. The optics are much harsher now.
Yeah, that was pre-Me Too. There was a lot more covering up and good old boy type stuff. This is
2021, baby. The NFL is all in this. The thing that really shocks me though is Deshaun Watson, although is being investigated by the NFL hasn't put him on the exempt list yet.
Yeah.
I think that's what I find interesting, because usually as soon as an investigation is launched, that's where a player goes. That's been like the roadmap, right?
Yeah.
And that hasn't happened.
I think two things about that. One, the exempt list is really only there to park guys while they're figuring this out once paychecks are rolling. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So the commissioner, he could absolutely wind up on the commissioner's exempt list. If they're still investigating by the time the season rolls around, I think that's what happens with him. But the commissioner's exempt list it's designed so that you've got a place to put a player to where they know they feel pretty strongly something happened. They haven't been able to totally vet the situation. They feel it's appropriate to get him out of the building and away from his team. But Deshaun works for a union that's that's a strong union. They don't want their guy to lose checks until they've been deemed guilty of whatever it is they're doing by Roger Goodell. So that's there to put guys so that they can still pull game checks while the league is figuring things out. So there's really no rush for the league to put him on the commissioner's exempt list right now, because he's not getting paid. I think the other thing too is that Deshaun made it very clear that if he's still on the Texans, he's not coming into the building. Okay. Before all the lawsuits, right? He's like, I don't ever want to play for the Texans again, which meant he was ready to hold out and stay away.
Yeah. That's a mug to let him
and stay away from. Yeah. But ultimately, here's where I'm going with this is Deshaun was ready to stay away from the building and start, racking up fines and missing game checks and all those things. Now, if Deshaun gets put on the commissioner's exempt list, it actually works to his benefit. He can stay away from the building and still get paid. He was going to stay away from the building anyways. And so I think my sense is that there's probably a part of Goodell in the league that feels like, well, we don't need to do anything with this until the start of training camp. And then let's put Deshaun to the test here. Let's see if he was going to stay away and hold out, then he stays away. They don't need to do anything.
It probably couldn't happen, but could Casario or McNair say, hey, Goodell, look, this is what happening. Hold off until, so we
I know Goodell works for the owners, so I don't know what the dynamic is. If I'm Cal McNair, I don't want Deshaun on the commissioner's exempt list, because that means I've got to pay him. Yeah.
Right. You think he's kind of whispering?
Oh, so I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Like if like tell him, hey, hold off and let's see what Deshaun does here. Right. That conversation could absolutely take place. If Goodell, what does Goodell do with that? My sense is Goodell's going to do what Goodell's going to do. But I think that's, as far as the commissioner's exempt list goes, your original question is it is a very fascinating and key part to the timeline that's coming up here over the next few months because of the dynamic involved. Deshaun this is such a unique situation that this is a guy who's, before all the lawsuits, was ready. The discussion here in Houston was, does Deshaun Watson have the stomach to incur millions in fines, pay back a prorated part of his signing bonus, miss game checks? We're talking about millions and millions of dollars. And now the irony of this whole situation is that depending on where the NFL is in their investigation, there could be a mechanism by which Deshaun Watson stays away from the Texans and still gets his money. It's a fascinating thing.
Is that probably maybe? I guess it goes back to like how much do the Texans really know? Maybe they do know a lot, and they're just holding it right to play their cards. Is that a possibility? You
mean about like Deshaun and his whole situation? Like how much do they know? Right. I think we learned in one of the articles that at the very least there was somebody in their training staff that knew he was scheduling a bunch of massages with people outside of the building. They knew about what his scheduling habits were. Yeah, that was, I forget what article that was. It was in one of the recent articles that I think there was an SI.com article recently by Jenny Vrentas that disclosed a lot of repeat stuff, but there were a few new things in there. It was a few weeks ago. And one of them was that there was somebody from the Texans training staff that was aware that Deshaun was scheduling all these massage appointments with outside massage therapists. They didn't know anything about what Deshaun was being accused of. They just knew that they knew that he was doing that, and they were worried about it because he's the most important asset in the building. They were worried about it because it's like, oh my God, he's scheduling all these people. Do we even know if they're licensed to do massage? And they're working on the most important set of legs in the city. You know what I mean? Like it's so.
They're not thinking anything negative besides, how does it impact his just regular training?
Yeah, they're not thinking. Body. I hope Deshaun's not on a table thrusting his hips and going in there with a towel the size of a cocktail napkin, on his privates, like all these things he's being accused of. They're not thinking that. They're worried that there's these unqualified people that are working on him,
Right. You can't mess up the prize horse,
That's right.
Gotta keep it healthy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've said all along, up until everything fell apart with Deshaun, but he's, up until he demanded a trade, he was the most important employee in the building. Every decision, I've been saying this for 3 years. Every decision they make as a football team, I don't care what it's about, whether it's about the roster, whether it's about the field turf, whether it's about the hot dog stands, like every decision that you make, you have to ask the question, is this in the best interest of Deshaun Watson? And clearly at somewhere along the way, they stopped doing that. You know what I mean?
Well, especially was it like 3 months ago, they finally released a hype video for this season, and Deshaun Watson was zero to be found. Like he was.
Yeah, it's funny if you break it down like the Zapruder film, you can see there's like one highlight of him throwing a touchdown to Will Fuller, where you can if you look, Fuller's in the forefront, and if you look, you can see like part of Deshaun's elbow releasing the ball. Like I'm surprised they didn't superimpose AJ McCarron in there or something. A really wonky Photoshop of AJ McCarron in there.
We have a couple of comments from the group.
That's funny.
I want to update this.
Okay.
One, our very avid and vocal Watson's number one fan, Mr. Chris Royal. I'm going to make it short because he wrote a novel. So, there's going to be Deshaun Watson, a biography forward by Chris Royal.
Sam, am I a villain or am I a hero in this novel? That
No.
Right
I'm sure.
Is he mad at me?
No, since you're neutral,
Okay.
I'm assuming that, you'll just be like, and then I was watching Sean Pendergast on this terrible podcast. Something, if I was a GM, I'd take the heat back to Sean and not worry about the media talk or pressure. We know better than that. That's me saying we know better than that. Yeah. He's saying we'll never find another Watson no matter how many picks we get.
Yeah.
An OG general manager wouldn't give a damn. Keep your guy. Watson will play. And then a question from Buck Flair says, overall, as a Texans fan, do you see a happy ending with this case? Oh, and then Chris Royal just wrote, as I said that, and said, I always like Sean. He's great.
Okay, well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Are we sure the happy ending was a serious question, or was that somebody just trying to get us to talk about happy endings?
Oh, you know what? I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
I guess there's only one way to find out.
Hey, I talk about this thing for 4 hours a day for the last 3 months.
That's true.
So it's really hard to get a double entendre past me in these things.
You know what, Sean? Because of that, give us something else. Give us some good news. Let's not talk about Deshaun Watson anymore.
Well, I want to answer the question about the OG general manager thing, because I think one of the things that I do think one of the things now that needs to be taken into consideration probably is that you do wonder if pretend Deshaun hadn't demanded a trade, right? Pretend that he was happy with the Texans, and then all these lawsuits started flying in. I think you can make an argument that the Texans would be looking at possibly trading Deshaun anyways, if they saw enough in this stuff to where they just felt like, we just don't want this guy to be the face of our franchise. You know what I mean? Like certain teams have a higher threshold for what they view as acceptable conduct than others do. And the Texans have always been a team that has fancied themselves, for better or worse, I'm not even Easterby. I mean, this predates Easterby. Like, this would be something that even if Bob McNair were still alive, we would be having conversations. Boy, do they want their quarterback to be somebody?
They are a Boy Scout. They're a Boy Scout family. Like they
are. That predates Easterby. That's not an Easterby thing. It is now probably, but that's something that this organization's been about since inception is public image and player conduct. I don't know. I mean, maybe we learn more in the next several weeks that indicate exactly what Deshaun's been saying, that these women are lying, or that the truth is their truth is an embellishment, or whatever the case may be. And the Texans would have looked at it and said, you know what, we can weather the storm. The city loves Deshaun Watson. And yes, to Chris's point, we're never going to find another Deshaun Watson. You know what? Chances are he's right. It's really hard to find quarterbacks as good as, I'd never say never, but it's going to be really hard to find one imminently as good as Deshaun Watson. So I think that's something just to keep in mind when you go, okay, well, weather the storm and don't trade him and stand tall and don't give in to his trade demands. This might be an organization that might have wanted to trade him anyways, given all this stuff that he's going through. It's just worth mentioning.
Can I play devil's advocate real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
So, I'm a Deshaun fan. I really am. But 4-12 is the record. I get he don't play defense. I get that. Yeah. But also you can look, a lot of his stats come from garbage time.
They do.
A lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that he's not this great quarterback, but how many, the Panthers game 2 years ago when we lost in the AFC Championship, he just disappeared that game. Disappeared. A big game that we needed to win, we lost.
Yeah.
So I was like, big games, he disappears, and he shows up. We're down by 30 points.
See, I disagree with that. There are a lot of times.
I'm not going to. Some big games.
I'm not going to disagree with the performances you're talking about because those are factual. But I'm not even talking about the games he won. He beat Kansas City and Mahomes in the regular season. Finally beat the Patriots a couple of times.
What's that like?
But Bills wild card game was all him.
That was all him. He won a playoff game practically by himself.
JJ Watt had some help in that. If he didn't,
he had a sack. But Deshaun got into 3 car wrecks.
That overtime was but that was Deshaun.
Here's where I'm going with this. There were several times in Deshaun's first 3 years with the team when he walked off the field late in games with leads that he gave them, plays that he made. I'll rattle off the games for you. His rookie year, they should have beat New England. They gave up a touchdown. Brandon Cooks in the last minute. Deshaun Watson walked off the field in the last 2 minutes against New England, against Seattle his rookie year with leads late in the game. The defense gave up touchdowns. his second year in the league. He walked off the field late in the game against Philadelphia. He brought them back from down 13 and with 5 minutes left in the game with Vincent Smith as his number 2 receiver, and left the field with a lead, and the defense gave up a game-winning field goal. The Saints on Monday night to open the season in 2019.
Should have beat the Titans twice this year.
There's a bunch of games this year where there were fumbles late in the game. He has done his job of putting that team in position to win big games on the road against very good football teams, and the defense has just collapsed on him. So my point is your list would look a lot different if the defense got to stop in the last 2 minutes of a game. You know
when I realized that Deshaun Watson was an elite quarterback? When it took one play. So simple, but like literally Magic Man. He was playing a team that I love, who I won't mention, and it was in London, so we can only guess. And he took that cleat to the eye, and
that
somehow
was the Jaguars game.
That was a Raider game.
That was a Raider game.
Was it?
Yeah.
I was pregnant.
Jaguars game where we blew y'all out.
Jesus.
I was pregnant at the time, so it all
16.
meshes.
But then he did.
But then he
threw.
He played. No, hold on, wait. Time. He played that next game, correct? You guys played us that next week.
The next game, the game the week after that was the London game.
Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. And he had the swollen eye.
Yeah, he may have been swollen from the week, but he got kicked the week before. The play I remember from that London game, is when he was getting spun around and sacked, and just as he's going to the ground, he sees Carlos Hyde behind him, and he flips it like a lateral to Carlos Hyde. Like he screamed at him, he's like, "Los!" and he flipped it to him.
Yes,
and Carlos Hyde took off for like 15 yards. Like that was when Deshaun was doing like something like that on the regular every week. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great player.
This guy's
don't get me wrong. I didn't say he wasn't. He is a great player. But
he's a great player, but I agree with what you guys are with what you were saying is that despite even if he didn't have the trade things, is that something that as an organization you want that as an image, what's being said of him? Some would do, but it just depends on what
Nobody. I don't think anybody wants it, except maybe the Raiders and the Bengals. I think they would want that. I
don't even think they want that anymore.
No, you're probably right. I kid, but some just have a higher tolerance for it. The Texans aren't one of those teams.
I mean, Miami does, and there's always been the rumors that they would trade for him. I don't see why they.
I think that's where he wants to go. I think that's where Deshaun. I think that's ultimately where he would want to go. That's the one team.
Because he could be himself and go get happy endings.
That's South Beach. I hear has plenty of that. He can get all the numbers from Bob Kraft. I hear Bob.
I was about to say, look at Robert Kraft.
I was about to make the change up. They can meet up in Juneau.
That's right. But the funny thing about that though, Miami is the rarity actually of all the teams that get talked about for Deshaun. Denver, Carolina, Philadelphia now, Las Vegas. Probably missing a couple other teams. None of these are teams where if you're Deshaun, you go there and automatically everything's better. You know what I mean? The ownership situation in Denver is a mess. The Raiders have sucked for a number of years. Washington is another team that gets mentioned for him. They haven't won a playoff game since 2005.
They don't even have a name.
It's in shambles.
Yeah, they're the team with no name. Philadelphia, Philadelphia, they've actually won a playoff game at least recently in recent years. A lot of these teams that want Deshaun have not had success in a long, long time. Now, Deshaun obviously changes your trajectory and he improves the most important position, but it ain't like he's going to the Ravens or the Steelers or the Chiefs or one of these blue blood teams that just wins and wins and wins all the time. He wants out of Houston, and I get it. I understand it. They've not made good decisions for the last year and a half, but he's not. None of these teams that he's talking about going to are teams where you feel like, this is a well-oiled machine that I'm going to. This team that hasn't won a playoff game since the Clinton administration. Awesome.
Speaking of happy endings, again.
Yeah.
It
all comes back to Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton references
Who knew?
in one episode. I love it.
Who knew? Yeah.
But aren't those the types of teams that need a Deshaun Watson? You're not going to be like, damn, Kansas City really is going to trade for Deshaun Watson. They don't need that, right? So your options are those teams because those are the only teams that need it.
And and I'm sure Deshaun knows this. I'm sure, like, I'm not breaking any news to him. I'm sure he sat down with Mulugeta and his team, and they said, okay, these are the teams that are on the board, and they've weighed I'm guessing they've weighed the pros and cons of each of them. My point is that none of them have a great history,
Sure.
So
if you're looking, Miami, they got McKinney, they got Will Fuller. I mean, they picked up some great offense weapons. I mean, if I'm him, I'm licking my chops wanting to go to Miami. I mean, the team's looking pretty good.
I think there's set up, for sure.
Yeah. There's a communication pipeline between those two organizations too, because Flores is a Patriot guy, Chris Greer, the GM. Chris Greer, his dad, Bobby Greer, was with the Patriots for a number of years, and I think the Texans too for a little while. And obviously Caserio, and so and they made a deal already this offseason with the Shaq Lawson and Benardrick McKinney deal. So once front offices start talking to each other, it makes those conversations flow a little bit easier.
Sure.
Well, Sean, do you have any other updates? Give us the state of the franchise. Like, let's take Deshaun Watson out of the equation. Pretend, okay, Sean.
He has been out of the equation.
Sean, do you have whiskey on you? And pretend that this is a post-game show. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, there's my whiskey bar right over there.
Yeah, my man.
Yeah. No, so I was at OTAs last week, and it's super, super weird because there's no Deshaun Watson, there's no JJ Watt. Laramie Tunsil, Justin Reed, Zach Cunningham, like these are the guys who are the marquee players now. They weren't out at practice that day. They're not holding out from OTAs. They just happen to be working out inside the building. When you read all these pundits saying it feels like an expansion team, it feels like an expansion team. It 100% feels like an expansion team.
Now you know what it's like to be the 2018 Jaguars.
Yes.
To rebuild
2019 Jaguars.
Yeah, and I never want to feel this way ever again. And my fear is that my fear is that I know, and I probably talk some shit about the Jags. I probably when Deshaun Watson was at his apex as a Texans football player, 2019, and they were on their way to the playoffs. I was probably saying a lot of things. I know for a fact there was a Facebook post. Facebook reminds you of stupid things that you said, 5 years ago, 8 years ago.
Often.
Right. Oftentimes, you're like, oh God, I can't believe. So this was like right after the 2019 season, so somewhere middle of January 2020, right after they got bumped from the playoffs against Kansas City. And I posted something on Facebook. I posted a picture of me and Deshaun at an event that we did together. He and I did an event together back in 2019, like a sit down fireside chat for some VIPs or whatever.
No,
and I took a picture.
Massage therapist though.
I figured no. I don't know what he did afterwards. I can't say, but we went our separate ways once we left the building.
John had his own massage to go to.
I came home. Yeah, my massage therapist is laying on the couch over here. But I posted that picture, it was right after the Texans had a real disappointing loss. And it was one of those posts where you're like, yeah, you know what, we're down today, but I take solace that I get to root for Deshaun Watson for the next 15 years. And that thing popped up on my Facebook timeline exactly 1 year later, which was 4 days after he demanded a trade. And I had to share it, just so that I could let people destroy me on Facebook. You know what I mean? I deserve this.
Yeah.
I deserve this. Yeah. So it's super. So I say that, Sam, I deserve whatever I have coming to me because I've been bebopping and scotting all over the place with my franchise quarterback, like it's a Rolex watch or something like that. And now it's like I got jacked in the parking lot by three guys. You know what I mean?
Now I'm the one bebopping around with Trevor Lawrence.
With a little Trevor Lawrence action.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But
you got jumped by three guys out of a massage parlor, huh?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question real quick.
Okay.
The question that literally everybody asks and nobody has the answer to ever.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Easterby. Is he a problem? If he is, why is he still there? Why aren't they taking the hint? What is going on? Because they had the whole expose on it, and
Yeah, I can answer all those things. I don't know if people are going to like the answers, but I can answer all those things.
I probably
He's
will.
there. He's there because the McNairs think that he's very capable and very good at his job. And you can agree or disagree, but that's why he's there. Like that's the answer. So they think he brings something to the table. I think he definitely had a huge role in the absolute decimation of the roster of this team. I think he was working hand in hand with Bill O'Brien. And if he wasn't making those decisions, he was in O'Brien's ear explaining why those decisions all made sense. So I think he's complicit in where we are. I do think now that having Nick Caserio as the general manager is a good thing. If Easterby's going to be in the building, I think it's a good thing. And in fact, we had Caserio on our show. Seth and I did not all that long ago. It was like the Monday after the draft, I think. So a few weeks ago, month ago, I guess. And I asked him, I said, what's Jack Easterby's role now that you're there with respect to personnel? Because Jack Easterby was the interim GM after they fired Bill O'Brien. And Caserio said in great detail, he said, Jack is not a personnel guy. He's not into scouting. He's not making decisions with the roster. He would tell you that. He repeated it 2 or 3 times. So if we're taking Caserio at face value, and I choose to do that, I think Nick's been given a lot of power in the building there. I know Cal McNair thinks extremely highly of Nick Caserio. However highly he thinks of Jack Easterby, he thinks equally highly, I think, of Nick Caserio, if not higher. So I think Caserio is a guy who probably has maybe put Jack Easterby in the lane that he's supposed to be in, which is doing operational things behind the scenes with the weight room and the travel and all that stuff. So I don't know if people like those answers.
Don't you want him away from that? Like, isn't he just
who,
awful?
Easterby?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he deserves to be there just based purely on being part of the decisions that wreck the franchise. So yeah, but
supposedly he like creeped a lot of guys out, talking about following them and stuff. Like, wouldn't you want to make him like line cook, maybe cafeteria, like sack lunch?
like tailing guys? Yeah, I don't know. You know what it is, Sam? Like, I think and maybe we're just too close to it. Like, I think most of Houston kind of realizes he's not getting fired. You go through the 5 stages of grief with things.
Yes,
like word acceptance.
I'm a Jaguars fan.
So there's anger and denial and bargaining and depression.
Here's a good question for you, Sean.
Word acceptance with Easterby, yeah.
If Bob McNair was still alive, would the Hopkins trade took place?
Oh, I mean, obviously none of us know.
I can answer that. If Bill O'Brien was still the coach, yes, because the Skittles were very enticing and he had to do it.
Yeah,
Skittles are good, man.
I think you go back even a little further and say, if Bob McNair were still alive, would Bill O'Brien have ever become the general manager of the football team? You know what I mean? So from that standpoint, I mean, none of us know the answer, yes or no. And it's really tough when somebody's not here to it's tough when someone's not here to go, yep, you're absolutely right, Sean. And Bob McNair's not with us anymore to say whether or not we're right.
Right.
But it's hard to imagine a scenario where Bill O'Brien gets as much power as he did with Bob McNair still around. Maybe it happens. I don't know. I mean, Bob McNair did hire Bill O'Brien in the first place to be the head coach of the team. So there obviously was a respect level there for O'Brien to some degree. Was it to the degree where you give him total control? Hang on, I'm about to lose the battery here, so I got to plug.
Don't lose the battery.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to go anywhere here.
But I want to say
we need your commentary. Do we have you for all the teams tonight, Sean?
Oh my God, I hope not.
Right?
You think I can give good opinions on?
No, I just want to know how you feel.
Not that I don't want to do it, but
I just want to know how you feel about the Julio Jones. But of course, we're keeping.
I would love to talk about.
Yeah, we're keeping that one for last. There's not a lot with the Colts and Jags, so we're skimming over them.
Yeah, we're chilling, baby. Well, we're on summer vacation till July 22nd, so we got nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. We had our OTAs 3 weeks ago. We're chilling.
There you go.
Is there any other Texans news or updates you can give us?
Yes, I would say make sure you have a program when you go to games this year. They they are going to be churning that roster, baby. I mean, they literally have like 50 new guys on the team. Like
Jesus Christ.
It's pretty much the Jaguars before they decided to get like Tebow and, you know,
before
10 years washed up.
Yeah. We move on to another team, Sean. November 21st, the Titans and Texans game is going to be at Tennessee. Are you going to be there?
No, I won't. I mean, I can't travel because I got to do pregame and postgame.
That sucks. We're going to have a.
Are you doing a roundup there?
Me and John are going to meet up and go up to.
Oh man, I would love to. I think that's the week 11. I think is when that is after the bye week for the Texans. And my wife and I are going to go to Green Bay. I think for the bye week.
I was actually quite offended, Sean, because you were in Jacksonville. You were 20 minutes away from me, and I tweeted at you because you came for AEW.
Oh, for when
match.
I was there, when I was there for wrestling, when I was there for AEW.
Yeah.
I was in for one day.
I know. I could buy you a whiskey. What the heck?
Oh man, next time. For sure.
It's great to have a football owner that also owns a wrestling team and a soccer team.
I know. I'm jealous. I need Cal McNair to buy. If Vince McMahon puts WWE up for sale, I got to.
So no, that's a rumor. That's a rumor. Allegedly, CBS is talking about buying it.
Well, I need the Texans to talk about
the WWE, huh?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, no, the Texans aren't talking about buying them. It sounds like CBS is talking about. Yeah. No.
But they should. That'd be
great. Cal can buy Booker T's little independent federation here up on the north side of town that he runs. Yeah.
That's one way to kill wrestling. Have CBS buy it.
Well, that's what everybody's like complaining about. I guess it's like a multi-billion-dollar deal from what I was reading.
Oh yeah, WWE is super valuable.
That'd be great for Tony Khan. I'm sure he's super excited about it. Real fast, Colts. I know you say you don't have anything. You literally don't have anything, Harish?
Oh, everybody's on break.
On the Colts,
everybody's on break.
I would say I am amused by how effusive all the weapons in Indianapolis are, about how awesome Carson Wentz is at throwing against air. I was reading an article where they were quoting Michael Pittman and Nyheim Hines and who else? Pascal. They were quoting all these guys like, wow, did you know he can throw the ball 80 yards? And I'm like, yeah, he was the number 2 pick in the draft. I'm sure he can throw the ball really far. They're amazed at how well he's doing throwing when there's, not an opponent on the field. I'm going, you guys might want to wait till the bell rings on this.
Well, you see, we haven't had a quarterback that can throw in almost 3 years. So it's a foreign concept.
That's true. Now that's a fair point.
Throw for a great, Jacoby Brissett could throw maybe a great 2-yard drag route, right? Yeah. And then Philip Rivers can maybe throw like a 5-yard slant. So it's been almost 3-4 years since we've seen anybody throw the ball 80 yards in Indy. So of course we're really excited.
Let me ask you.
They're really excited about any quarterback that they have ever since Andrew Luck retired. They're like trying to convince themselves and everybody else.
Here's the thing, though, with like anybody who reports on OTAs, they always say that every player is like the next greatest thing ever. It doesn't matter what team it is, except maybe you with the Texans. But everybody I hear reporting on OTAs or whatever, like, oh, this person's great, this person's awesome. It's always like they're the greatest.
They did it for the Texans too. They said Mills was.
It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah,
dude. I did a segment where you would think Nico Collins is going to be first team All Pro this coming year last week.
Hey, for sure.
This is what I'm wondering about the Colts. This was my hot take on Sunday when the Julio Jones trade went down. When I did I was doing my CBS show on Sunday, and my hot take was, I bet Colts fans are a little uptight about this Julio Jones trade because one, Julio Jones and Indianapolis made some sense to me. Although I know they wouldn't have had the draft capital to do it because their first and second are kind of spoken for right now because they don't know what they've got to move in the Wentz trade yet because it's conditional. But I do feel like the most rabid of Colts fans probably A, feel like, boy, Julio Jones sure would have been nice to have. B, get a little angry with Chris Ballard that he treats nickels like they're manhole covers with the salary cap. And C, that he ended up landing in the division and that the Colts have to play him twice a year.
Let me tell you something. Harish doesn't think that Ballard does anything wrong. Harish kisses the
I like Ballard
ground
too.
That Ballard walks on.
I like Ballard too.
No, I don't think it's that I don't think he does anything wrong. I just, as a Colts fan, I've trained my brain to take him at face value because he hasn't started me wrong, right? So he says, I'm going to do this, right? And that's exactly what he means, right? Colts fans do this thing where they take what Chris Ballard says. It's like, yeah, he just says he's going to go do this thing and this thing and this thing. And all he's really saying is, this is what I'm going to do, right? And he just does that. So he's a straight shooter. You probably don't like the way he does what he says he's going to do, but knowing the way he speaks and knowing what he does based on his actions, there's no point in me saying, I'm going to address the pass rush. Fuck yeah, we're going to go get Romeo, Aquara from the Lions. Like, that's what I want, but that's not what he's saying he's going to do.
Yeah,
right? I think that's where I come from.
Gotcha.
And it hasn't stirred me in the wrong direction yet.
Yeah. No, I like him a lot. I mean, granted, I've just had Bill O'Brien for the last 2 years, so I would take a broom with an upside-down bucket for a head for a general manager. Be like, this guy's amazing. Look at what he's doing with the cap. He's not spending any money. This broom with a bucket for a head over here.
And he got like Skittles, so
Yeah, and he fucking hates Skittles, so that guy's great.
Right. His name is Broomy, and he's our general manager. So I would like anybody. I like Ballard too. I was just curious. That was my hot Julio Jones take on my Sunday show. So
guys, don't you think Harisha's being a little more humble with Sean on the podcast this evening?
No, because I fucking love Chris Ballard. I think Chris Ballard is like the greatest thing on God's earth, right?
There it is.
But I also, the reason why I think that is because I've learned to understand what he's trying to do. His first couple years, he'd say, yeah, we're going to go get a big player. And I'm writing down a fucking Christmas list, right? Yeah, we're going to go get this guy, this. And I've now known that even though these are guys that I want, I should probably not expect these things to happen.
Right.
So I know how he operates. He told us this year, I don't think we're Super Bowl ready. Like he came out and said it. But then there's Colts fans that are like, man, we're ready to make a big Super Bowl run. And
so what is it that's holding them back, do you think? Receiving?
There's a lot of uncertainty at wide receiver. We think Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be really good. I think Paris Campbell is going to be excellent, but he can't stay on the fucking field, right?
I think Pittman's going to be good.
If Paris Campbell can stay on the field, this is going to be a really good offense.
Are you still betting on that Allen Robinson deal?
Yeah, I really wanted Allen Robinson.
I'll cry, just so you know. I will cry.
I don't think it's going to happen. There were rumors we asked for Julio Jones in the draft, but they weren't getting rid of him at that time because of the cap hit. And so I had a small expectation that they would have tried to make a run. But after seeing that the Titans also gave up a second, like you said, that second round for us is tied up. We don't know if it's a second or a first.
Yeah.
If things go well, it's a first.
I think in some ways the hand that Ballard was dealt is an even harder hand than Caserio was dealt. And here's why. Is that Ballard took over a team where he thought, okay, well, once Andrew Luck gets healthy, and especially he must have thought this when he went through 2018 and Andrew Luck was really, really good and got them to the postseason, is that, all right, well, at least I know now I know I'm building around this guy for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? I got my guy. But he up and retired. You know what I mean? Like with Deshaun, at least – presumably, unless the cops come for Deshaun, they're going to be flipping him for 3 first-round picks at least. You know, so at least Caserio is going to get. Caserio's been dealt a really bad hand. Don't get me wrong, but just if we take quarterback to count for like the final exam where it counts for like 2/3 of your grade, which it kind of does in the NFL, right? I think Ballard's been dealt a much more difficult hand at quarterback than Caserio's been. You know, like his quarterback retired and he didn't get anything for him. Now he's got to kind of muck it together with Brissett and then with Rivers. And now, boy, I hope Wright can turn around Carson Wentz. Caserio's at least going to go, all right, well, you know, our quarterback doesn't want to be here anymore, but I'm going to go trade him. They're still going to get a shit ton of stuff for Deshaun. You know what I mean? Like it's this stuff, this might just my prediction. Like he'll get through this. I'm guessing he's not going to go to jail. And people have short memories, especially teams that want quarterbacks, and they'll find some sort of PR blueprint to cleanse him of all this. And I don't know if he ever gets Nike back or anything like that, but I don't think the team that trades for him cares if he gets Nike or Beats by Dre back as a sponsor.
They
want him to throw for 5,000 yards. Yeah, Tiger did. Deshaun's in a little different situation than Tiger. Also, he ain't
Tiger.
He ain't Tiger either.
Tiger
didn't do what Deshaun did.
And he ain't Tiger. Like Tiger is like it's Michael Jordan and Muhammad Ali. Tiger's like way up here. Deshaun's a really good football player. Yeah. But the teams that trade for Deshaun, they don't care. They don't care if he has 0 endorsements as long as he throws 40 touchdown passes. You know what I mean?
Sure.
True that.
And I guess my point, just going back, like for me as a Colts fan saying that we're fine, like to me, 11, 12 wins in a playoff win, I think that's a successful season, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is people are thinking that I have these Super Bowl expectations when I've never said I ever have. I've never said we were winning the Super Bowl.
Now I got to go back and listen to the archive. Yeah. I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of skeptical faces in
Sean.
here.
Hell with Phillip Rivers, I never said we were winning a Super Bowl. I said we would win the division, right? And maybe a playoff game, maybe the AFC title game.
Did you beat the Jaguars?
Yeah, we went, okay, cool. The Jaguars fucked up our division title. So what? So did not beating the Steelers and blowing a 17-point game. Boo fucking who. So what?
Oh, right? It's the best.
So
it's the best.
It's great. I don't have Super Bowl expectations. I'm saying it right now. I still think 12-5 is a very successful season. When you have 4 quarterbacks in 4 years and you're still managing to win 10-plus games outside of that weird 7-9 season, I think Ballard's doing a fantastic job.
I think he's doing a good job. I think he's a good GM. I agree with you.
So, look, and then if we can get some stability, then we could probably start going somewhere. But until we can get stability at that position, we're not doing anything, and I understand that.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is a system quarterback. I know what he is. He is a potentially, on paper, he's a system quarterback. He fits Frank Reich's system perfectly. It's the only system he's ever been good in. So I'm taking that with my high hopes and the talent that's around him, and I think we're still 12-5. Very simple.
And one of those is a loss to the Jaguars at home. And on that segue, Matt, Grieve. There's not a lot. Nice. There's not a lot coming out of the Jaguars camp, but the one that interested me the most. I don't even want to talk about Tim Tebow. I'm just going to throw that out there. Can we all agree that we're not talking about Tim Tebow?
Who gives a fuck about Tim?
That's the Lord tight end, though.
Thank you.
That's Easter Breeze poster boy right there.
No, listen. I'm a Gator. I'm a Gator fan. I watched him 06, 08 national champion. The minute he got off my team, he was no longer my quarterback.
You stopped winning. Okay.
And then this is all marketing. This is all marketing, and we're period. Moving on, not talking about Tim Tebow this episode.
Genius. Marketing geniuses.
I mean, yeah, it is genius. I have a whole theory behind it, but we're not going to talk about it.
In number 85. Like number 8 just
Did you see?
strange.
Well, did you see why he said he did
perfect.
it? Oh,
He
man,
looks
we
at
said we
home.
weren't going to do this.
It also looks fucking massive.
He said he did it to honor Aaron Hernandez.
Really?
What now? Did he actually say that, or was that an NFL?
Yeah, because he's playing tight end.
Oh my god!
I don't know how real that
is. I gotta look that up.
I mean, why wouldn't he?
I feel like that's
just because
I feel like that's worth like 5 segments tomorrow on my show.
Why did I not?
I'll find it.
Not been talked about all over the place.
Listen,
that's content gold right there.
I'll find the content, but while I find it, Matt Grieve.
Okay. USA Today. Fact check. No evidence Tim Tebow is wearing number 85 to honor Aaron.
Oh, good.
Oh, thank God.
We don't. Do we believe fact checkers? Do we believe fact checkers?
I don't know, but the fact that this is even a topic means it's going to wind up on my show tomorrow. So
Hey-o.
Emailing the link to Pendergast. Send.
All I can say is we know that he's going to take a couple snaps in preseason. He's not going to make the roster. They gave him $965,000, 0 guaranteed. The end.
Hey, all we had is make sure. Hey, I was on this crazy podcast last night, and guess what I heard?
Yep. Yeah. They were throwing all kinds of weird conspiracy theories around.
Follow
the guys was talking about going to Mars.
Follow them on Twitter at AFCSB. Yeah, there you go.
It says it doesn't say he didn't. It just said there's no evidence.
Well,
I'm going to start picking out all the things that people said that hey, he didn't say that he wasn't going to do this. You know what I mean? Like
He didn't say
Well,
he wasn't
in an
gonna go
article
to the
written in the
massage
New
parlor.
York Post, October 15th, 2018, Tim Tebow allegedly saved Aaron Hernandez from being booted from Florida. So he obviously loved him.
That is true. I've heard that
is
before.
True. They were close. They were actually in college. They were really close.
My thing is he didn't not take that because Aaron Hernandez had it.
I love that. That's the angle I'm going with tomorrow too.
Sean,
intellectual property. I'm
taking
it. I'm taking it.
I'll credit. I'll give full credit to you and to this podcast.
No, don't credit me. I'm a Jaguars fan. That's terrible.
No.
I didn't say that.
You better do it now.
That's as bad. That's as bad as that reporter direct
I'll say
quoting me.
Harish said it. There's this Colts fan on there that was talking all this trash about Tebow.
Just go ahead and follow him on Twitter.
That's literally just as bad as that reporter direct quoting me and Mina Kimes screenshotting it and putting it on Twitter saying I conceived my daughter during a game. That's what it said.
Yeah.
And that's just as bad, but we won't do that.
You did or Mina Kimes did?
No, supposedly
she did.
I did.
But
it was as the result of a game. Her name is London. And the reporter who interviewed me said it was during the game.
It's
and
not
Mina
that
Kimes,
much better, Sam. It's not that much better.
It is better.
Behind the beer stand in section 210.
Exactly. After she pinched somebody.
Was over.
After she pinched someone,
it was over. All right.
That's a Florida man story right there. A Florida man. We were knocked up.
My favorite was somebody said that I was the Jaguars' best receiver, and I was like, you know what? I take offense to that. I can't run routes, so whatever.
All of these stories became the real reason why Miles Jack was truly down.
He was not down.
Let's move on.
All right.
Miles Jack.
The only news really out of Jaguars camp this week, Matt, that I want you to talk about. Schneider was called in, hired under Urban Meyer's, coaching. And then he was like, no, sorry, I'm leaving for personal reasons, which he did last year with the Seahawks. And now they have Sorensen in. So do you have any, what's going on with that? What the heck happened?
That's pretty much it.
Okay, cool.
That we have a pipeline going on between Jacksonville and Seattle. We've had several pickups from them, but yeah, last year with Seattle, he stepped away for personal reasons. And then Urban Meyer said, come on down. And a couple months into his tenure here, he said, I need to step away for personal reasons again. So Jaguars, they didn't really say much about it. They said they would respect it.
Was he hanging out with Jay Gruden or something? What the hell's happening?
They replaced him with Nick Sorensen, who is also from Seattle, who is I believe their secondary coach. But he was the assistant special teams coordinator under Brian. So hopefully they're hoping for an easy, smooth transition. Not much change in their game plans for the special teams, but that's about it with the Jaguars. Other than that,
we didn't pick up Percy Harvin or Aaron Hernandez reincarcerated.
I will say this. So in Florida, it's really humid, right?
What is the word I'm trying to say?
Reincarnated.
What?
Reincarnated, not incarcerated. He could be reincarnated into reincarceration. Let me stop.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I will say in Florida, the air is a little bit thicker because of the humidity. So when Trevor's throwing the ball through the air, it really is better than every other quarterback at.
Oh, is that what they're reporting from OTAs?
Yeah, he's just the ball that he's throwing through the air. Yeah. So he's looking good.
I'm just loving that him and his wife are loving Jacksonville so much. Everybody said he would hate it.
He has to say that.
They haven't played any games
She
yet.
doesn't have to. Come on now.
I mean, he should take a trip down Moncrief.
Who loves living in Jacksonville?
His wife, Marissa Lawrence.
Oh,
Jim Ross.
I do want to say, Trevor and Marissa, if you're listening, you have my address, and I'm really offended that you haven't showed up since I bought you a chopping block off your wedding registry. So, call me.
And to be fair about Tim Tebow, our tight ends room is hot flaming garbage. Mm-hmm. And if he makes the roster, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised.
Okay, you know what? I have a bet going on with somebody, Matt. So tell me, how many snaps do you think Tim Tebow is going to take in a regular season game?
All of them.
As a number,
not snaps.
As number 53 man on the roster, I don't know.
Not snaps.
A couple a game if he makes the team, just as a maybe wildcat or put him out wide, whatever.
You're a betting. What do you think? What's the odds of him playing the snap in the real NFL game?
Not a snap, but getting like receptions. You want to say snaps, but they're not any longer because he's not a quarterback
anymore. I mean, I think decent. I mean, I can't imagine. I'm trying to imagine. All I can picture is him running that tight end pattern and the ball bouncing off of his face when he was on the New York Jets.
Or like he gets confused, like because he's never played tight end. He's been a quarterback, but then he just got out of MLB, so then he thinks it's like a baseball, and he like swings at it. Like that's what I imagine.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. Like if you're asking me, does he make the team? Or I don't think he makes the team. There.
How epic is it going to be of the Khan family? Because they bought the team in 2011 after he entered the draft to be like, watch this, bring him on the team, high record jersey sales, and they're like, hey, he didn't make it. Everyone's gonna lose their minds.
But he's got it. I mean, like it's up to Urban Meyer. Yeah. Urban Meyer's got to take the best 53 guys. You know who Urban Meyer? Urban Meyer does not love a lot of people more than he loves Tim Tebow. I can name one person he loves more than Tim Tebow. Urban Meyer. He loves Urban Meyer more than he loves Tim Tebow. So he's not going to keep Tebow on the team just if he doesn't think he can somehow contribute to winning football games. He's not. He's not going to keep him on there as some sort of consolation prize. If he makes the team, it means he's probably one of the 2 or 3 best tight ends on the team, and that's a big damn problem if he's one of the 2 or 3 best tight ends on the team. That's why I can't imagine that. I can't imagine they can't find 3 guys better than Tim Tebow walking the earth right now. You know what I mean?
And my thing is like they were trying to make him a tight end in New England, and he was like, no, he was too good for it then, and now he's like doing it just for Urban Meyer, and you're like ruining the chance of kids who deserve it, I guess, because you don't really have to do it. But then he's so selfless that's why he's doing it, is to help the team. So.
Yeah, I got no problem with him getting a shot at it. Like there's 90 guys in camp. Like the people that are like he's taking an opportunity away from. If you can name by name the person he's taking an opportunity away from, then cool. But like other than that, there's 8 jillion guys in training camp right now. Every camp has 2 or 3 guys that are there because they have a connection with somebody. You know what I mean? And
Sean,
most of them don't make the team.
Hypothetically speaking, you have the chance to get a quarterback from Jacksonville. Would it be Gardner Minshew or Tim Tebow?
Tim Tebow. I'm in the content business, baby. No question. I don't even care if they can rip both his arms off and it would be Tim Tebow. I need clicks. I need ears. I need eyeballs. I need every body part that has some sort of sensory effect on my ratings. That's what I need. So.
Ooh, careful saying that there, Sean.
I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
Deshaun Watson's listening, sir.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that would be awesome if he was listening.
Right. Yeah, we know. That would be awesome if he was listening.
Sweet.
That'd be our moment of glory.
Yep.
Matt, you got any more news from Jaguars?
That's it.
All right. Well, the news we've all been waiting for. We all know. John Ha, the Titans. Before we talk about the main one, can we talk about the fact that you guys have that wrestler on offensive line? Because that's amazing.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ.
That's actually you know what? I give the Titans 0 credit ever, but that's actually kind of genius. And they have no cap space.
He's got the number 1 selling jersey, and then they're gonna cut him.
Yeah, it says it's basically Tim Tebow, but it's not as high.
Yeah. But no, besides that, like to have a wrestler as an offensive lineman, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's like having a quarterback as tight end. I mean,
I'm fine with anybody having an opportunity, like Sean said with Tebow.
It'd be cooler if it was like Roman Reigns or something like that, though. I mean, if you're going to go for a wrestler,
that would be nice.
Braun Strowman's unemployed. You could sign Braun Strowman right now. He got cut by WWE.
He's what, 6'9"?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's perfect.
I'd take Braun Strowman as an
I wish I could give you some insight. I'm not a wrestling fan, so I really don't have any jokes or anything.
Trust me, what I just said was really fucking funny.
Yeah. Laugh, John. Laugh.
Yeah. Damn, man. It's a tough crowd.
For a reason.
This guy's like an Olympic wrestler, I believe. Like, I'm assuming that's like Greco-Roman.
Yeah.
He's a four-time. He's a 4-time NCAA state champion. Won college. He failed the Olympics, I think, for physical reasons. But since he didn't make the Olympic team, the Titans said, "Hey," Come eat some mayonnaise.
You wanna come our team too?
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably failed his physical because he ate too much mayonnaise.
Derrick Henry's touches is a problem. It is a problem, but I think that you have two really good receivers on the outside can alleviate the amount of carries that Derrick Henry is going to get, because if the play action becomes really deadly, if they're going to keep playing that triple coverage against the Titans, which a lot of defenses like to do.
Well, Sean, you know about bad wide receiver trades.
Yes, I'm well versed.
What do you think about it? Do you think it was a good trade?
Let me put on my wide receiver expert trade hat.
Glad you asked.
It was just changing channels until you asked him. Like I saw.
It is funny. When I saw him getting traded for a second-round pick and then like a swap of some day 3 picks, I'm like, oh my God, all that's missing is David Johnson, and I'm having PTSD right now. Holy smokes. I like the trade. I thought it was a decent trade for both sides. I thought it was a good trade for Tennessee. I think Tennessee, in my opinion, I've been saying this about Tennessee, I think they're operating on a 2-year window. I think their window is much shorter than people think, because Ryan Tannehill's an older quarterback, and you never know when the old Tannehill is going to show up. I think Arthur Smith not being there is a variable that's been injected into this now that at least needs to be acknowledged. But I think between Tannehill being older and Derrick Henry can't be touching the ball 350 times a year for much longer. So
yeah,
I think
right. We've been saying that.
So I think it's the move makes a lot of. I think it makes perfect sense if you're operating on that sort of window. Trading a second-round pick to get Julio Jones in the door is a very sensible move. And I just think about, oh my God, like the visual of Julio Jones, AJ Brown, and Derrick Henry, like those 3 guys being the first 3 guys off the bus when you show up somewhere. And then I think about the Texans, whose 3 guys are Mark Ingram, Brandon Cooks, and Randall Cobb. And it's like, oh my God, they would squash these 3 guys like mosquitoes. Like, it's like these, if they got into like a 6-man tag team match or something like that. But I like the trade a lot for Tennessee. I think it puts a lot of pressure on Tannehill, one. And I think it probably, even though they love Vrabel there, and Amy Adams Strunk loves Vrabel, I do think that it's the type of move that inherently puts more pressure on a head coach too. It's a win now kind of move. And he's a guy who's done well since he got there. He got to a conference title game and made the playoffs last year. But this is a move where they're saying we feel like we're pretty close to being a team that can get out of the AFC. We think, we think we can win the AFC.
They are in a win now mode. The problem is I don't see them beating a Kansas City. Buffalo, I don't see them being about are they I
don't see them stopping those teams.
Are they competing to get to the Super Bowl? I don't think so.
I honestly think this is a 2019 Kansas City Chiefs team where you have to score 50 points.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that is this a team where it's like, yes, this defense is going to be a whole new defense. Is this the kind of offense they're trying to assemble that can do? That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I've loved Julio Jones for a long time. I follow both teams, so I'm more than okay with it.
Yeah.
Are you sad for Matt Ryan, John?
I'm very sad for Matt Ryan. He's my favorite player. But they seem to really like this Kyle Pitts. You know me, I don't watch college. You guys have said he's kind of a next level kind of guy, and they said that they plan on lining him up all over the place. So I think they might be hoping that Kyle Pitts is sort of the Justin Jefferson, Minnesota kind of thing, where they lose Stephon Diggs, but they didn't seem to lose anything out of it.
Is Matt Ryan really your favorite player?
Yeah, Matt Ryan's my favorite player.
That's wild. I've never met anybody who's Matt Ryan is their favorite player.
I love him. You have
Mind if I ask why?
I really like that. There was something about when the Michael Vick thing happened, I really felt bad for that city. And then their coach, who's that coach who just quit and went to coach Arkansas?
Bobby Petrino.
Just quits. What is it, in November or something? Just quits mid-season. And I was like, oh, this poor team. I was like, how would you feel?
Karma got him.
Well, I felt so bad. I felt so bad, and then I just kind of fell in love with them drafting Julio Jones. They brought in Michael Turner, or not drafting Julio, but drafted Matt Ryan. They brought in Michael Turner, and all of a sudden they're in the playoffs. I mean, if they gave MVPs to rookies, I think Matt Ryan could have had a shot, because Peyton Manning won the MVP that year, but he wasn't that much better than Matt Ryan, if at all. but Matt Ryan was a rookie, and I really kind of fell in love with him turning that franchise around, and I've always respected him.
The real reason why he's a fan is because he's a big Vanilla Ice fan. So Natty Ice, Vanilla Ice,
MC Hammer.
And also his favorite number is 28. And he likes to blow.
That was harsh. I knew exactly what that was for.
Oh, okay. It took me a second.
Yeah. That took place 5 minutes from my house. Yeah. That was here in Houston.
Yeah, I was a Matt Ryan fan long before that. And yeah, my heart still hasn't healed. I'm sure Matt Ryan's hasn't either. But yeah, I felt bad for them that day.
That's funny. I did not. But go ahead.
That's fine.
That was a good case. That was a good case for Matt Ryan. By the way,
I love Matt Ryan, and
I was genuinely curious.
I feel like he's always been a little bit disrespected, just because.
I agree with you on that.
He's
correct.
He's not super flashy, but he is incredibly smart, and he's really good at putting the ball.
Even when they have bad season, he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, 2018, he was even better than he was his MVP season, and it was completely wasted on a terrible defense, and people ignore it. And that's the other thing too, is a lot of people, even his MVP season, that 2016 season, people were saying that he wouldn't be anything without Julio. Julio even missed maybe 2 games that season, and he put up better numbers when Julio was off the field. So all these sorts of things that people have tried to negate on Matt Ryan, he's proven wrong, and he still doesn't get the credit he deserves. And that's the other reason why I feel bad is that Super Bowl, because if they had won that Super Bowl, these things still wouldn't happen. Those arguments would have gone away. People would look at him the way they look at Drew Brees, as like, he's that guy, he's going to do that stuff. But
can you ever imagine if there was breaking news? Ryan Tannehill tore his hamstring, and the Falcons trade Matt Ryan to the Tennessee Titans. John would be like,
that'd be one hell of a cap hit. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No, he's going to do it. No, this is a hypothetical. They're going to trade him for free.
Oh, for free! Wow, I'll take him.
They're going to trade Julio. They're going to trade Matt Ryan for Julio Jones back.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I'll still do it because I love Matt Ryan that much.
I know you would shoot.
It's the thing. So when it comes to, but it's still on the Titans end of this. I love having Julio Jones. This is great for our offense. This was the missing piece that we needed, and I think this is an offense that's going to. It's a new offensive coordinator, but it seems as though he wants to sort of keep the scheme. It's going to be a run-first offense, but I could see them throughout the year figuring things out and transitioning out of that. So Derrick Henry isn't taking those 350 carries a year.
So if you think about it, like Sean said, they're a win-now team. If they do get to the AFC Championship or even the Super Bowl, that's what, 30, 32 pick? So, I mean, you're basically early third for a great receiver.
Pretty much, yeah.
John,
and it's like we give
Sean.
Sorry, go ahead.
Is Ryan Tannehill an elite? Well, what the Titans?
No, he's not an elite quarterback.
No.
I'm not talking about you. Is Ryan? Okay, we'll put it this way: is Ryan Tannehill Titans Ryan Tannehill without Derrick Henry?
Is he an elite quarterback? I don't know that he's an elite quarterback.
Not elite. I did not use the wrong verb.
Like he's really good.
Okay, sorry. Is he? Wait, Sam, are you saying that would he be as successful as he
would
has
he be
been
a playoff quarterback
without Derrick Henry?
Without Derrick Henry.
No. Derrick Henry is what makes that whole thing go. In fact, I was talking this through on my show the day the trade got made on Sunday. And I started thinking to myself, okay, Titans just got better. I wonder what Ryan Tannehill's MVP odds are now. That could be a nice sneaky, that could be a nice sneaky MVP. No, I don't think it is either. But if there's value, if it's 40-1 or something like that, hey, throw that. Hey, look, the years that Mahomes and Lamar Jackson both won it, they weren't even on the board at the beginning of the year. So. And Josh Allen almost won it last year. He was 60-1 at the beginning of the year. So there's always somebody in the mix who wasn't there. But then I started thinking to myself, I'm like, if the Titans have a big year, the guy to take off the Titans to be the MVP would be Derrick Henry. You know what I mean? Like if he had the year this year that he had last year, but they go 13-4 or something like that, they win the division going away.
He's in the conversation for sure.
He's in the conversation. He'll have had 3 monster years in a row like that. And and guys get kind of.
I'll say this: if Tennessee beats Green Bay Week 16, which they weren't going to, but let's just say they do, they beat Green Bay in Green Bay Week 16, and Derrick Henry has like 150 yards or something like that. Derrick Henry might have won MVP last year if they beat Green Bay.
Yeah. So I mean,
that's a good point.
So if I'm going to take somebody off the Titans, post this Julio Jones trade, if I feel like that trade made them significantly better. They're not all of a sudden, just because they got Julio Jones doesn't mean they're going to be throwing the ball 45 times a game.
No.
Like the game plan is the same. Now they just got Julio Jones instead of Corey Davis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It just makes it so much better. Like, because I think a lot of defenses are going to try to do that cover 3 to start with, but the difference is the reason why Julio Jones is an upgrade from Corey Davis is Corey Davis did not know how to beat double coverage. Julio Jones can beat double coverage. Even last year in his terrible year, everyone was talking about. Watch his film from last year. Julio Jones has beaten double coverage consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's Julio Jones. I don't know why I feel like I'm like having to like beat the drum of trying to convince
his stats were really good when he was playing last year. When he was playing last year, his numbers were numbers on a per game, per catch basis are every bit as good as they were in his big seasons.
So
I really liked him in Men in Black. He was really good.
What's the ceiling to say, yeah, this trade was successful? What does Tennessee have to do in your opinion?
Well, again, the question mark is the defense, right? I think that this team's expectations are to win the division and be a 2-3 seed, I would say. I mean, I think you'd love to be a 1 seed, but I think what they're looking at is to be a 2 or 3 seed and win the division probably easier and not let it come down to the last week or the Pittsburgh week the Colts had.
Well,
so you think
all
they're
I
better
can say
than
is
Buffalo
Titans fans. Go ahead, Harish.
Sorry, go ahead.
They're better than Buffalo and Kansas City?
They're not better than Kansas City. Today, they're not better than Kansas City, and I won't say they're better than Buffalo because this defense is a question mark. I haven't seen this defense go together because they got rid of a lot of defensive people. I mean, granted, they weren't doing a lot. They weren't doing anything anyway. I mean, we drafted that Caleb Farley, who has had a lot of injury problems coming in. Bud Dupree, I like Bud Dupree, the pickup. Who's the other DB we got? Got that stupid nickname. Dang it, I'm blanking on him. Either way, we had to plug in. We've had to plug in a lot of young people and other people that haven't necessarily made a career flying solo. Jeffrey Simmons is going to be. He's just a monster no matter what. So we're going to live and die by this defense.
Well, never fret, AFC South, because as long as Derrick Henry's personal trainer has him bench pressing a horse next week or whatever the hell he's going to be doing, we won't have anything to worry about because he's going to eventually – I'm not going to say that. Never mind. Let me not speak that in the universe. I don't wish injury upon anybody. But if I was a Titans fan, I'd be really mad. I'm just going to say that. That is a very expensive, talented running back to be having doing some of the crap he's doing. But any final thoughts, Sean?
It's sure.
Go ahead, John.
I was just saying, it's just a shame to have a really talented player and then be told that you shouldn't be playing him.
Yep. Sean, you're our guest for this evening. Tell us where to find you on everywhere.
You can find me on Twitter at Sean T. Pendergast, SEAN. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram also. Just search that name and you'll find me. Most importantly, if anybody's on here and wants to listen to me, you can Sports Radio 610. You can download the Odyssey app, AUDACY. It's the name of our company, and you can stream my morning show with former Houston Texan and Jacksonville Jaguar Seth Payne.
Love Seth.
And Seth's great. Seth's great. And then my Sunday show is 2 to 6 Eastern on CBS Sports Radio.
Awesome.
So that's where you can find me. And other than that, you can find me and the Texans being the most hospitable hosts in the NFL this season because they are underdogs in every game this year. So we will be the most welcoming home team in the NFL. Come on into our living room and mess up our furniture and eat our food and smooch our ladies and all that stuff. Yeah.
How does it feel to be me?
You got any? Do you have any good massage powers?
Oh, just go on Instagram. Just go on Instagram. I'm just happy that we are not the bottom. It feels good to not. I will tell you, as somebody who just came from the bottom.
Don't speak too soon, Sam.
As far as you know.
The only way is up. The only way is up.
It's not like you guys are favored by 7 points in week 1 in Houston. You're only favored by like 2.5.
You know what? That's probably about 12 more than last year.
Oh,
I know. And on that depressing note.
Yes. All right, Sean. We know you got to go.
Right.
We've kept you long enough this evening.
All
Thank you
good.
so
All
much for
good.
coming on.
Anytime.
Always love to
Anytime.
have you. Thanks.
Oh, appreciate it. You guys
Hey,
keep
Sean,
up the
have a
great
good one.
work. All right, you guys take care. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye. Well, we went on for a while tonight. It was a lot to.
Lots of conversation to have,
Huh?
We kind of went off on a tangent with the Texans stuff.
I'm just saying there was a lot to unpack.
You got to talk about it.
We haven't talked about it in a while, to be fair.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Deshaun Watson. We agreed to not talk about it until we had an expert, and that would have been Sean T. Pendergast this evening. So,
sure.
That being said, fellas, any final thoughts before we log off this evening?
It's summer. And I love the summer postseason, so I'm super excited. It's the last big break before football season, so it's my favorite part of the year.
It's my favorite, just because
I just feel like it needs to be said. I feel like it needs to be said that the Titans were not one wide receiver away from the Super Bowl.
Oh, don't tell them that.
I feel like that's all I see is everyone's like, we're gonna, that's it. We got it.
Yeah. Here's something else.
Did you even hear me say we're going to the Super Bowl this year?
No,
not you.
About Titans fans. Come on, John.
RJ Ellison, Jacoby Covington.
Here's the thing, and I think Sean is right. This was a move, seeing that they have a small 2-year window. That's not a very big window for a team that has to continue to chase Buffalo and Kansas City.
Not only that, but that's a really small or not a lot of teams get windows. Teams don't get big windows nowadays anyway. So,
and you're not counting in. You don't know how Cleveland's going to be.
Yeah, Cleveland was the other one that I was talking about. Yeah,
Miami is another team that improved.
Miami's going to get better. I know it's crazy to think this. I think Baltimore is actually going to get worse.
Baltimore.
Yeah, I think they're gonna take a step back. Cleveland's a question mark, but Pittsburgh's definitely taking a step back. I don't know.
But the Bengals are on the up, right? Joe Burrow is.
Well, yeah, the Bengals are on the up, but the Bengals weren't,
Also, the Chargers got way better.
I do like the Chargers. Yeah.
And again,
but the thing is that but again, it's like, are we competing for the Super Bowl? Are we competing for the Super Bowl? No, but
sleeping.
But as of right now, I think they want to win the division. So it's like, do we stack up against the other teams in the division? I think the Colts right now is the biggest competition because they have the most stability.
If Jacksonville gets to 7 or 8 wins this year, that's a team to look out for. Honestly, right? Because then they've got a really good building block. That basically means
week 3.
So next year you've got a 3-team race, right? So and then if Houston goes 0-17 or 0-8,000, they go pick up Spencer Rattler. They're already back in the
8,000.
They're already back in the mix, right? Because
stop, he's already dead.
That 2-year window.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I'm right there with you. I agree. 100%.
That 2-year window isn't necessarily a 2-year window.
Well, most teams don't even get 2-year windows. Yeah. It's
fair. It's a
rare
very
to get
small
a bigger. Kansas City seems to have kept building and building onto this great team they have. Most teams don't. I mean, don't be surprised. Yeah, don't be surprised if Buffalo, for inexplicable reasons, all of a sudden falls off the face of the earth. I've seen teams do that where they come back with almost the same team, improved positions, and the same coaching staff, and then all of a sudden they can't win games. It happens. The 2016 Cardinals came back even better than they were in 2015.
I was like, it happened in our division.
2021 Houston Texans.
2016 Carolina Panthers. It happens. Yeah. Teams are really, really good, and then for some reason, unexplained reasons, they just can't do it.
We call those flukes.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, So I'll say, when you ask, are we better than Buffalo? I'll say right now, no. But, Buffalo's another team that I could see all of a sudden just falling off a cliff for no reason at all. It happens. Yeah. It could be us. It could be the Colts. It could be any of us, but.
I'm not trying to big head, but there could be a surprise team like the Jaguars.
There always is a surprise team.
But I think we can all agree that most of the teams that we've mentioned that have been decent in the last 7 years, give or take, all have elite defenses that make them great. The Titans don't.
No, we don't.
That.
No. The Texans.
That 2019 Kansas City defense wasn't very good. They just caught fire.
Yeah, they weren't that good either.
The year we won the Super Bowl, our defense was dog shit. We just caught fire
until the playoffs
at the right time.
Yeah, the playoffs they got great.
They just did well. Like that defense we won with was not very good. It just caught fire. It was one of the worst defenses in the league. So yeah, I mean, you could say, again, Tennessee will go as far as that defense goes. My guess is that their offense will carry them and their defense will come along, right?
Yeah, now, and I think that's kind of their hope is that like I said, is I think they want Julio Jones to, this offense can do everything. And so in a sense that they can be a defense in the fact that they can control what the other team's offense, how long they're going to be on the field.
But that defense has to continue to show improvement week after week, right?
They do.
You can't get beat on 3rd and 15 in week 17.
Yes, I know. My God.
Nobody's going to care.
I was so tired of seeing 3rd and 16s get converted. It was, oh my God. It was so funny too. And it happened every time. You guys should have seen it. I'm watching the games. I got my screen set up and all of a sudden it brings like 2nd down, sack. Oh, 3rd and 18. Well, that's all right. I already know this drive is going to keep going.
On that note, last great thing, 90 Sundays till football.
Oh my God.
Not 90 Sundays, 90 days.
90 days.
90 days, not 90 Sundays.
I saw a tweet it
really is a 2-year window.
Yeah.
To find out if they even make it. Jesus.
Well, guys, if there's no more to add, I'm not going to lie. This has
we're
been a
still
very
on.
long
I thought
podcast.
we were just shooting the shit afterwards.
No, we're still live. And I have to pee really bad.
Are we really?
And you're the reason
I thought we were off.
Nope.
What's up, guys?
Funny.
I mean, good thing y'all didn't say like you guys normally do. They talk crap about you guys normally. I'm just kidding.
Hell yeah.
Anyways, hope you guys have a good night. Stay safe.